Hi humans, how you doing? How did your day 9 go? Mine's is actually pretty good. It's been pretty awesome. I think I'm still on the same wave from day 8 about God's kairos and our chronological time. So chronos and kairos, I still kind of been on that wave from day 8, and I'm still on that today. So wanted to check in, see how you're doing. How are things coming along? How's the fast coming along? We're going on to our second week. How's it going? Tell me all the things. Well, I just want to tell you a little bit about what my devotional is about today. Devotional is, again, with emotionally healthy spirituality, and it's talking about Luke 10:38-42. So here we go. Back in what we were talking about yesterday, where it was talking about God's timing and our time, and how those things are not the same. They're different, and how our timing kind of prepares us. Our linear time prepares us for what we're doing, where we're going, where we're going to be, what we want to accomplish, all of that. Where God's timing, and when God does things at his timing, even if it's things that we want or we don't want it, during his timing, we see God's action. We see what God is actually doing. So when I was reading my devotional today, the question, actually, I don't think I even wrote the question today, but it's talking about Mary and Martha. And a lot of times we hear about Mary and Martha in the Bible. You find that in Luke 10:38-42. And it's talking about two sisters, and one who's really, really busy working and doing all the things, and the other sister who's just kind of sitting at Jesus's feet and just enjoying his presence, being a part of what he's doing, what he's saying. She's just existing. She's being in front of him at his feet. And where Martha is cleaning and setting the table and cooking and doing all the things. And then she gets in her feelings and she goes to God like, aren't you going to say something? She goes to Jesus and says, aren't you going to say something to her? I mean, she should be helping me. And then he's talking about how he asked her like, but I'm not going to be here forever. You should be here spending this time with me. And what I thought was really interesting about that for me was that this time of prayer and fasting for me has been very different than it has ever been before. I have taken a moment of just sitting back and really trying to spend time with God. And I think that oftentimes we misinterpret what being still and knowing what God is. A lot of times we think that being still is do nothing. We're just going to sit here and just wait to see what's happening, what's going on. And that's not what being still, if you look that up, that's not what that means. Being still, it doesn't mean do nothing. It means sit back and watch what God is doing. Stop fighting all this that you're fighting. Stop doing all the things that you're doing, because God's going to fight the battle for you. Again, it does not mean be still. It means be attentive, be alert to what God is doing. And so that's where I'm being still in the sense that I'm trying to be very hyper alert and aware of what God is doing. What is God doing that I am missing because I am so busy doing things? Again, there's a balance between being attentive and not doing anything at all. So I am being hyper vigilant to what's happening around me that God is doing that I am too busy to really notice and pay attention to. I want God to be the center of my gravity. I want God to be able, that I can sit there and see and be able to identify, look, this is what God's doing. Oh my goodness, look at what God is doing. And one thing that I've noticed is that I have, the less I have been in the busyness of things, again, don't misinterpret me. I'm not saying I'm not doing anything, because that's not what I'm saying. But the less I am researching, the less I am trying to look for other people's opinions, trying to listen to other people's perspective, the less I'm doing of that, and I'm being intentional to hear what God is saying to me in these times, and being able to recognize, hey, what's happening in my morning? What's happening at work? What's happening with the people that I'm engaging with? What's happening to the people that I just, in passing, wave or something? Like, what's happening in this world? What happened when I'm driving? Like, I'm trying to be very, very present in the now to see what God is doing, because I want to be able to see what God is doing. I want to be able to engage in what God is doing. I want to not be so busy in the things of God but I want to be busy with God. And so that's what day 9 has been for me. Just trying to be with God and make my day, and not just be like just super spiritual. Everything has got to be so holy and everything is scriptural. No, I'm just taking this time to enjoy God's design. God designed me as a human being. He designed you as a human being. That means with all our emotions, with all of our thinking, with all of our deficits in our bodies, with all of the things, the wholeness that we are as humans, God designed us. But I have to remember the design that God had for me and He had for you is not what the world tells us it is. It's not what we live today. So God's original design for me and for you was found in Genesis 1 and 2, and it was perfection, is total communion with God. Like, not necessarily setting time aside to be with the Lord. It was constant communion, constant walking together, constant being able to engage with God. There was no moment of separation. And so trying to experience that as best as I can, knowing it's not perfect and knowing that I'm not perfect and I will never be able to experience that until I'm with God in eternity. But that we can live every day and every moment of our life just consciously aware of the supernatural, constantly aware of what God is doing. And most of all, like yesterday I mentioned that sometimes we're not prepared to receive. We're not prepared to receive what God has for us. And how do we prepare ourselves for that? You know, and it goes back to what I was reading or what I was kind of thinking about when it was Mary and Martha, how one is really, really, really busy and she can't really receive because she's so busy. But she was busy preparing a meal for Jesus. She was busy doing work for the Lord, you know, but she wasn't ready to receive Him. She wasn't ready to dwell with Him. And it speaks real heavy to me. And I'm still kind of processing that. Maybe you have some insight that you can share with me on the fact that oftentimes we're not ready to receive. We're not ready to live in joy. We're not ready to receive joy. We're not ready to receive patience and kindness and gentleness and self-control. All the gift of the fruit of the Spirit, we're not ready to receive that and live in that. We're just not ready for it. Because we're too busy feeling. We're too busy remembering, rehearsing our past. We're too busy just being resistant without meaning to be resistant, but we're resistant to what we really want. And we want to get to these places and we want to accomplish these things. But the narrative in our head does not want to change. So because the narrative in our head does not want to change, our behavior doesn't change. Our present doesn't change. And of course, our future isn't going to change. So it goes back to the posture of our heart. Are we willing to receive what God has given us? But to have peace, joy, kindness, love, to have all of that, we have to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable is something that many of us are not willing to do or to experience. We don't want to be vulnerable. Because being vulnerable means we can get hurt, we can be betrayed, we can get lonely. Like, we can experience all that we have already experienced. We can experience it again. So I challenge you to really, really look inside and decipher, are you ready to receive what God has for you? Are you ready for joy? If God had joy and peace and He had a fruitful future for you, all the things that you desire that are according to His plan, not just what you want, but that are according to His plan. If God had all that in His hand and He's like, I'm ready to give it to you. Are you ready to receive? Is your heart ready to receive joy, forgiveness, kindness? Are you ready to receive that? I think oftentimes we're not. I think we're not ready to receive it. We want it, we desire it, we want it, and we long for it, but we're not ready for it. We don't prepare for it. We're not in a posture, in a position to receive a blessing. We're not ready for that because we're too busy in our heads. We're too busy in our hearts. We're too busy. We're too busy for the blessing that we're praying for and we're asking for. So I challenge you. Where's your heart? Where's your posture? Tell me.